a soldier of the Argylls and Southern Highlanders, whose recruiting base is in Edinburgh Castle and based in Canterbury, has been accused of collecting Taliban fingers on the battlefield in Afghanistan. This seems shocking to civilians and to the media, who have gone on a hypocritical, moralising tirade against the British Army and have asked for sanctions against this man who's only doing his duty. Although I would not personally have ever, if I had ever been sent on operations, given that I was only a reservist, have ever collected fingers or anything like that, or any other tokens of the enemy's equipment or anything else. We have to take the moral hypocritical stance of the media for what it is, which is absolutely ridiculous. Where was the tirade against the Saudi crime family for their support of the Bin Ladens during the operation on 9/11? Well, Osama bin Laden was certainly criticised for that operation. The rest of his family and the Saudi crime family who did that operation and supported Osama bin Laden scapegoated him and Al Qaeda for the whole operation and have got away scot-free. In fact, little is known about them apart from brief snippets of news about King Abdullah apparently being in support of the Arab Spring, even though he sent troops into Bahrain to crush a Shia rebellion there. Now, the Taliban are Wahhabis and Sunnis and are supported by Al Qaeda. There may be moral elements among them, but they're generally well known for invading villages and raping and killing every single member of the village, men, women and children. They're a bunch of evil scum, and they deserve to die and be treated with the contempt that they deserve. So, although I would not personally do what this man is accused of doing, I do understand the moral outrage that he felt and the need to scar the enemy, his psychology, and to, what they did in the Philippines against an Islamic insurgency. The Americans there sewed the people up in pigskins and used their own ideology and superstitions against them, and that insurgency collapsed. The moral outrage that the media pretend to have, right? And they do pretend to have it because would they rather the Taliban and the Al Qaeda be over here committing more murders like 7/7 and more moral outrages like 9/11? No. Just as George Orwell said, the green teas and the crap chattering classes of the media are heavily dependent on tough men being put on walls on the edges of our empire. And he was saying that during World War II. Which brings me on to the subject of many German prisoners were killed outright. Many German prisoners had their throats cut or their gold teeth removed, and seldom a Japanese prisoner saw a British prison camp because the British soldiers knew that they would not surrender. The Taliban and the Al Qaeda operatives know that if they surrendered or helped the enemy, their families would be killed, and so they cannot be trusted, even as prisoners of war, to be kept prisoner and to behave as normal POWs. Therefore, as far as I'm concerned, they're fair game to be shot out of hand. These people kill people's families. They don't give a shit about morality. And the British soldiers who are out there are constrained by their will to fight is constrained by the moral and ethical bullshit that the British establishment put on them. And the British establishment are no angels, I can tell you. But they are better than the alternative, such as the BNP and ultra-conservative Freemasons and the rest of it. Who are another group that needs to be dealt with by the British Army. And it may take a war as big as Al Qaeda a war against them as big as Al Qaeda because, of course, of the Oslo and Utøya shootings and bombings. But that might happen in time. What the British Army needs to do is to not have its hands tied in the war against the Taliban and Al Qaeda, and maybe eventually in an invasion of Saudi Arabia. We need to have a Fabian incremental strategy, yes, to cut the connections, economic and social connections around the Taliban and the Al Qaeda. But just as Michael Schur said, we need to kill more of them. We need to use the Daisy Cutter bomb. We need to use the armoured forces that we have available. We need to use every available conventional means, and maybe even nuclear means, to get rid of these people, because they have attacked our cities, they have destroyed our buildings, they have killed our civilians, they have killed thousands of our own people, and perhaps even millions, because most of the attacks done by Al Qaeda have used knives and poison, and the people being killed in before the Arab Spring arose were being dragged into alleyways in Arabia, all over Arabia, in the Iraqi insurgency, and having their heads chopped off while they were still alive. Is that as bad, or am I making a moral equivalency with the Argyll and Sutherland Highlander who chopped off fingers? And the media themselves, I know they're being hypocritical because they heavily support and foster ideas of the clean war, of the surgical strikes. The surgical strikes which land on people having their weddings in Afghanistan and turn them into pink mist. Those people also had their fingers removed. But because they weren't collected by the pilots, that's okay. It's just another miss in the war. So, yes, on my own part there, I was a little bit hypocritical because I'm supporting the British troops, but I'm not in favour of bombing innocent civilians. There must still be a distinction made there. But the clear point is that if we can't build chartered cities in Afghanistan to win over the population, if we can't do all the things that we need to do before we defeat the enemy, then we're not going to have a strategy, because as Rory Stewart said, the Minu 99's MP said, on TED Talks, he said, every year was said to be the decisive year, and every year we use the same strategy. And it's not a clean war. It's a war about bayonet charges, about people defending compounds and taking compounds at close quarters battle, from what I've heard from the people who have been in the front line. So yes, I'm in favour of using heavy armour in Afghanistan and perhaps indiscriminate weapons. But soldiers who've been there perhaps said that we have enough firepower as yet. But don't let the media bind your hands when you use it. Use it, save your own lives, get back safe home to England, our country, and let's defend it from the Saudi and Bin Laden crime families and the Taliban vermin who would like to see all of Western civilization reversed, and an Islamic caliphate that reduces us, because the Saudis are imperialists, in Michael Schur's own words. The head of the Bin Laden anti-terrorism unit from the United States CIA said that the Saudis are imperialists. They want to conquer the whole world and make everyone second-class citizens, force people to convert, or kill people outright. Whether they can do this or not is another matter, but they firmly believe it as their ideology, and this influences Al Qaeda. And let's not forget that the Americans have been training the Saudis' army, and those people have been defecting en masse to Al Qaeda and to train the Taliban. So they are a potent force, and they have hundreds of thousands of operatives. So we must defeat them in time through both the Arab Spring and possibly an invasion of Saudi Arabia. So tell me what you think on the subject of the media being hypocritical, and the subject of whether the man was psychologically unhinged when he took the fingers, or whether it was right, or whether the whole case, as one media outlet said, the BBC, was possibly not even true. So thank you for listening.